And I mentioned that it is very important, especially in a case where people are going to lose their homes and their properties. We establish, first of all, who the rightful owner of that land is. Because if you look at the history, because the evidence that we present, we have an old title coming from 1904, I believe. 1904. There is no evidence of that land being transferred to the Kirimas. It is the 99-year leasehold of that particular piece of land. And curiously, the Kirimas presented a title deed that where the lease starts in 2003, at which point the old title expires. There is no evidence of any transfer of that piece of land to the Kirimas, and that is why it's very important. Remember, there are many lives being affected by this particular case. It would be very sad for those particular people to negotiate with the Kirimas, and thereafter a new owner again coming to claim the same piece of land, and we start again from scratch. And that is why we are here today, so that we can ask the court, at the end of this process, or rather at the beginning of this process, to give us stay orders, so that we can establish who is the rightful owner of this piece of land before we proceed with the elections. And as has been rightly said, we are approaching the holy month of December. These people are not sleeping. These people have lived there for quite a number of years. And to them, being evicted after saving all this money to buy that property is something we cannot fathom. I'm here to represent those people of Kasarani. And if they are going to negotiate, they must negotiate with the rightful owner. And that can only be determined by the Honorable Court. There's also a statement that was made by the then Lands Minister long ago, Honorable Orengo. And he stated that all land that was leased after 1908, I have to get the correct year, should revert back to the government. So we have again a third player here. We have to determine whether also this is government land. Because if it's government land, then they have to be able to be the ones who take care of the people who live in that particular area. And then lastly, what I want to say, the people of Kasarani, the people of Embakasi East where Babuino represents, they need to feel protected by the same government that we pay taxes to. And as members of parliament, as their representatives, the only reason we are here is to ensure that they get a fair hearing. We have presented a case through the lawyers about the rightful owner, and what we want from the Honorable Court is to determine first who owns the land before we proceed to protect the interests of those owners. I want the court to understand the effect of those orders, and I want the judge to objectively look at the evidence we've presented today, so that in terms of the lives that are affected today, to make a fair determination in the interests of justice, because the number of people are affected is a huge number of people. Almost 20,000 families. We have a lot of school-going children in that area. We have hospitals in those areas, and we even have schools. So we want the Honorable Court to look at this very objectively. In our country, Kenya, this is usually our last line of defense, even as we look at everything else. So we want the judge to look at it objectively. All we're asking for is time to make a fair determination. And if there is new evidence presented in court, it is upon the judge to look at that new evidence. And as he looks at it, he makes sure everybody affected, their lives are not interrupted due to that judgment that was delivered